This is Jonathan Wiseman. This is another episode of The Grit. This show's for entrepreneurs. If you're looking to get in business, if you're already in business, I hope this brings value. If you do get value from this, if you know Charlie and the Knile Center, leave a comment, post, share, show some love. We'd greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, I want to introduce Charlie Vega. Vega?
Yep, Vega.
Charlie Vega with the Knile Center. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming on. I want to dive right into first what the Knile Center is, and then we're going to go back 5, 10, 15 years, start at the beginning, and work our way forward. But to start with, what is the Knile Center, and what is it here in Houston?
So at this point right now, and with any business, it's always kind of an evolving thing. So at this moment in time, Knile Center is a private school. There's two sides of it, private school and after-school tutoring program. But both of them are very unique. They're customized. Our mantra, the thing that we say all the time, is that education is not one size fits all.
Sure.
So a student comes in, whether they're in high school, first grade, or the after-school tutoring, every program is different. Every program is unique. We don't put them in a classroom and make them learn at the speed of the average student in that school. They're learning at the speed that they can go. That's
amazing. So they're not following a specific curriculum as far as timelines and time frames.
That's right. If they want to come in here and they can knock out algebra in a month, as long as they have some, they can show some sort of mastery out of it. Let's go.
There you go.
Put them
so
in it.
What classes or what grades do y'all cater to there?
So in the private school, we do grades 1st through 12th grade.
Okay.
In the after-school tutoring program, it's pretty much mirrors that as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but we haven't had too many college students, but from time to time we'll have a college student there.
Somebody come in.
Yeah.
So basically everything, all aspects of school from starting to end until you go to college.
Sure.
Real cool.
Absolutely.
How long have you been in existence?
This is our 11th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Real cool. And all just here in Houston?
It's always been in the Sugarland area. We've kind of bounced around from spot to spot as we grew from one student to this year we have right about 60 students. So it's kind of grown from spot to spot. It's been a little bit of time, 2 years. They kicked me out of my home office. So we had some students a couple years there. But the benefit was that, part of the lifestyle and mindfulness training, that we did is cleaning the house and cooking for themselves and everything. So I got a little benefit from that.
Like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, but then unfortunately they grew out of the house.
Really cool. Well, we'll get into a little bit of detail about the school and the services that it offers and different programs and stuff. I want to go back and learn how you got into the business, the trials and tribulations of getting where you're at. You started 11 years ago with one student. It's got to be a grind to make it past year one. Obviously, it's the hardest year in business, but now we're year 11. You've got 60 students. It's an operating business, making profits. Where did this idea start from? What were you doing before the Knile Center 15 years ago?
Well, I tell you, before the Knile Center, my wife has always been in education. While she was in college, when she left college, graduated from college, and I've done different things. I did some in engineering, IT sales, mostly business development, and I've been on my own for a number of years now as well. We always never really wanted to work for a company. Always wanted to have our own business. There was always that burn. And I'm sure this speaks loudly to
everybody,
every entrepreneur out there. They're like,
Absolutely.
okay, what's out there? What works for me? And education was the right thing for us. My wife, I was the breadwinner at home, so I stayed with my job, and we launched a franchise, the first franchise here called Learning RX, which was after-school tutoring program, very unique, very, very a great program, and still around here in Sugarland. But during the day, it was just dead space. It was 3,000 square feet of just no space.
So it was like after-school tutoring?
After-school tutoring, and, it's 3,000 square feet of just killed me every time I walked in, right? So we decided there was an opportunity for a private school in this space during the day. And my wife saw that there was, with all the conversations she had with parents, that there was a need for kids that would basically come in and public school basically addresses the needs of most of the kids, a huge population. But there are kids that kind of fall outside of that spectrum, whether they're extremely accelerated, they're super smart, they just don't want to be held back by the average speed, as like I said earlier. And there's students that have ADD, ADHD, maybe high functioning autism, dyslexia, and they need a little more hand holding. They need a little more push.
Yeah.
And so those kids, they don't do so well. They don't do so well in the public school system. And so basically we wanted to create a private school that would really address those needs, cater to those needs.
No, I love it. It's the school system, in my opinion, is so antiquated. I mean, it's just every aspect of it's outdated. Nowadays with, and I say nowadays, goes back, I guess, 10 years with my kids in high school. They're sending me video of the kids in their classes, and everybody's cutting up, listening to music, headphones on. Nobody's doing any work.
That's right.
And it's like, how do kids get an education these days with the system as outdated as it is, with teachers making, minimum wage that don't care?
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me what goes on in these schools. And I know they have their curriculum that they follow. I know they do a lot of gauging how good or bad they are based on certain test scores. And there's plenty that I don't know. And I'm sure you know tenfold what I do, if not more. But you're developing you did develop the Knile Center, which caters to anybody outside that niche, narrow line that's following the regular curriculum, whether it's needing extra help or they are so fast-paced that regular school just isn't doing it for them.
Right.
So you're on both spectrums.
That's right. So we saw that there was an opportunity for that, and more than that, actually, and that's why we, instead of calling it Knile Prep Academy, which is our private school. It's the name of our private school. It's Knile Prep Academy. We called it Knile Center because the envision, and we knew it was expensive, and it was something that had to be down the line once we got to a point where we could afford to do it, was to have a center where we would have therapists. We would have just standard therapy. Therapists just kind of talking to you about your feelings and what's going on, what we can do to improve your situation, to unique therapy with equine therapy, working in the farms, just planting. I mean, the emotional stress that is let go once you're out there in the field is amazing, and there's all kinds of studies that show that there's great results out of that. And so that's where we are now. Actually, is we're starting to take a look at that and starting to look at how we're going to start to bring in this resource center that's going to have these therapists in place so that we can
I think it's amazing. I mean, it's so much more than just reading a book and regurgitating what you just read or what you just learned.
Right, that's right.
And retaining it, of course. So let's go back to where you decided, what was the job you had before you decided to jump on? You said you were self-employed or you were working. The wife was into the education side. Y'all started the after-school program for tutoring.
Right.
You were working where during that time?
At that time, I was doing IT sales. I was doing networking solutions.
For network solutions for a company.
Right.
So at what point did you decide that it was time for you to go from, it's when you work for any company, and sales is a little bit rougher than most. There's not as much job security there, but at least you were in routine. You were bringing in income, making a paycheck.
Yep.
As you said, the breadwinner.
Right.
How did that evolve from getting that guaranteed income every month to, all right, I'm going to go ahead and quit my guaranteed income and jump into this educational
Well,
business?
I'll tell you that, and you probably heard this a million times, and you'll probably hear it a million more times with these podcasts, is that the timing is never right.
Sure.
Right. So we knew that we wanted to do something, and we just knew that we needed to be ready for it whenever it came, or as ready as possible. But one day we were at home and we read an article, a small little article. I mean, it was maybe not even a quarter page, an eighth page, something like that, tiny little blurb about this after-school tutoring program, and it was so unique and it was so different. And we went to the website. We went to the website and researched it and talked to each other about it. And there was none in Texas yet. And so we just said that this is it. I mean, not. I don't know how to put it. It just hooked us.
Yeah.
It absolutely hooked us. We knew that this is the thing that we had to do. And so the very next day we had phone calls and emails into the franchise headquarters in Colorado. And within a couple weeks, after a couple of phone calls, we're up over there just to have our initial meetings with them, and we're moving forward with it.
Wow.
I mean, the timing at that moment, couldn't have been worse because, we had two young kids.
How old were they?
At that time, let's see, my daughter was 3, 4, and then my son was 7. So, they were just, and, we had, my wife was the administrator, the principal at a private elementary school in West University, a very, very good one. And
so she was the admin. That's what she did. She was working at the school.
Yeah, she was the principal there.
And you were in sales.
I was in
and
sales.
IT and networking.
But see, the downside is they could attend the school for free. And it was an amazing school. It was actually the thing that kind of formed all of our ideas on doing things different and doing things, being unique on how we approach education. Because kind of like what you said, if you're doing the same old, then really what's your value add?
Yeah.
What are you going to provide for the kids? They can get it here, and you're just like another little widget.
Yeah. So what was the name of the school, the franchise? Was it Knile or was it something
No, the
else?
franchise was called Learning RX.
Okay. So that was the Learning RX after school program?
Learning RX after school program.
Okay.
So we brought it to Houston. We started it, and we were doing really well with it. That was in 2005. And we opened over here at Highway 6 and 59, right behind the Target.
Yep.
And did really well. And it was just one of those. It's where Kumon, Huntington, all these other competitors, they do hourly rates. This one did. You would have to buy into a program, so it was 3 months, 6 month, 9 month
Gotcha.
program. And since it was expensive, it required a credit. You're either buying it through a credit card, you're paying cash.
Getting
Not a lot of folks
for
have
it.
that much cash. And so when 2008 financial crisis hit, all of our financial options just went out the window.
Yeah.
So
Sucked the wind out of everybody's sails.
yeah, it did. So we lucked out. The absolute last thing that you ever want to do is close up shop, in your backyard.
Sure.
And and have to kind of face your parents that basically they'll never get their money back. And so we lucked out. We absolutely lucked out that we found a great owner who was able to buy the business from us, and we were able to get out. Even though we had some debt we had to take care of, but she was able to fulfill the contracts that were in place and
That's amazing.
The brand.
So
it was
with
good.
with the financial crisis that happened,
Yeah.
you were still able to exit out of the business on top or ahead.
Painfully exit. Painfully.
Painfully exit. So what was the transition at that time? So, you're in sales, the wife is in admin and education. Y'all decide to get into the Learning RX franchise, run that for a couple years. How many years did y'all run that before you exited?
4 years.
So we're in that 4 years.
Yeah.
Financial crisis, '08 hits,
All right.
and you exit out of the business. So what happens then as you move forward?
So what we had, I continued at that point. I was still in sales. I hadn't left IT sales. I was, like I said, just kind of.
So you hadn't left. You were still in business this whole time.
Yeah, because the first 2 years, I think we were paying ourselves, I can't remember, like $500 a month.
And I think that's important for all entrepreneurs to know.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to be.
You're not making any money
Mercedes.
first. Most people think that they just have to come up with a startup expense to get the doors open.
Sure.
They don't realize that they need to cover the overhead for the next 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, however long.
That's right.
Until you start showing a profit.
You got to build up that business.
So you were smart enough to keep the sales job.
That's right.
And not give it up. But your wife got to at least go full time.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And actually, the blessing was that she had seen this opportunity, like I had mentioned, with in education, to open up a specialized private school. So we had opened up Knile Center inside Learning RX.
Okay.
During the day, and it had been operating for about 2 years. Right when we closed. So
you started Knile Center. You said 4 years for RX.
Yeah.
So 2 years into it, you actually opened up Knile Center.
Right.
As a different business model during the day.
That's
since RX was a after-school program.
That's right. We had to get all the permissions from corporate to make sure that it wasn't, a conflict of interest or anything like that. So we explained the model, what we're trying to do. We're just starting off with one kid, so it's not like we're, really impacting.
Yeah.
So, so that's what we did.
So we started 2 years into it.
Yeah, and the next year we had a couple kids, sold Learning RX, and we actually had put a fine line in there that Knile Center was not included. It was not an asset of the company. So we walked away with Knile Center, and that's when we took it home, opened it up in my office, lost my dining room that became the school, and it just started kind of growing from there.
So it was a project that started out of the home, like many home offices do.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how long were you in the house before you got a new location?
I would say probably about 2 years before we outgrew the house.
How many kids did you have in that house while you were still doing it? Eight. Got
kids.
Up to 8. Wow.
Yeah, up to 8 kids. Thank God for a large dining room table.
So 8 kids.
Yeah.
And that was what, 2 years later?
Yeah.
You decided to go ahead and get a location for it.
No, actually, it was. This is how things work out. It was a friend of mine who was opening up a gym focused on kids.
Wow.
So he was opening up a gym. He had the space. The same story, where during the day his space was empty, and so I worked with him. I asked him, I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, you got that great amount. You have a huge amount of space in the back, and you're a trainer. So, how about we go back over there and utilize that space, put the kids back over there. It gives us room to grow, and we'll pay you for PE.
Sure.
You can come in. So it worked out well. And we got in there and grew, a few more kids. And he stayed on as a PE coach even after we left his place. And just did really well.
How long were you in that location?
God, that place, probably only 2 years.
So you got there with 8 kids. How many did you leave with?
Not too much more, probably 14, 15 kids, I think. By the
Okay.
time we grew out of that and then moved over, we found this little tiny shack of a place that my wife, as soon as she walked in, it's one of those things where if you don't have vision, then, man, you never would have seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, this place was really horrible when we first walked in.
And was that in Sugar Land?
It was in Richmond. It was actually in Richmond.
But she saw the potential in it.
She saw the picture. We drove up.
They always do, don't they?
Yeah, we drove up. I looked at him like, oh, man. I'm thinking how much paint, how much carpentry.
How much
and I
building
am
are
not
you
the
gonna
guy with, that's handy. Not that guy.
Sure.
Not that guy. So, but yeah, I mean, it turned out to be a great place. We stayed there for a number of years and we grew there up to, I don't know, maybe 20 plus kids, 25 kids maybe.
Do you remember the financials of that location? How much you paid to get in there, your rent, anything like that?
Yeah, the rent there I don't think was any more than $1,500.
Okay.
$1,500.
And then what were you charging the students per month or per year?
That's always been a hard conversation because it's just kind of
It's different
It's variable. One of the things that we do differently, we realize that that this is not the need that we're fulfilling. It's not just a Lamar Consolidated or Fort Bend ISD need. We had at that time we had students coming from Cy-Fair. We had one student coming from further north than there. And so what we did is we developed, part-time programs as well. So it's not a full-time program. They can come Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And since they're coming less frequently, then the tuition is a little less as well.
And I'm also assuming there was after-school programs during that time as well.
Well, we had to wait a number of years because of a
conflict of interest. Gotcha.
Yeah, non-compete with Learning RX. But in the meantime, while we were in that non-compete, we were developing our after-school program, which is called EduCoach now.
EduCoach.
Yeah, EduCoach
Cool.
now.
How long was your non-compete? I think it's good to mention
3
that.
years.
3 years.
3 years.
So, and for those that don't know, a non-compete is when you exit out of a business or you break up from a relationship or partnership. There's a non-compete that you can put in place that basically says you can't go conduct that same business model as the previous partners, employers, or what have you, so that you don't. And there's also a non-solicitation where you don't try to steal their customers, etc. Non-competes are very important for both parties or all parties involved when you decide to split from a relationship, whether you exit out of a business, etc. So always make sure you have a non-compete. It protects you and it protects the other party. Absolutely. So we're in Richmond now. We've got up to 25 students. Mm-hmm. We're now launching the after-school program. Have we got past our 3-year non-compete?
Yep. At that point, we were past that. We had launched it. It was just kind of taken off. It was doing pretty good. And
at 25 students, how many staff members does it take to facilitate that from front to back? I think, admin, teachers, all that.
Honestly, my wife was doing most. I was still at that point. I was still employed.
Okay.
My wife was doing the admin work, the principal work, and then she had 3 teachers, I believe, at that time. So we had a staff of 3.
Okay.
And everything was going well. The problem was that it was starting to, the word of mouth was going out there. It was getting out the word of mouth, what it is that we do, the amazing results that the parents were seeing in their kids, and the stress, the lack of stress that they would have at home.
Sure.
So they had this, dinner for the first time where nobody was fighting, nobody was crying, getting ready for school or, the standardized test the next day and everything. All that was going away. So this word of mouth started to grow our business probably more than anything else. And we realized very quickly that little shack that we're in, either we're going to blow out the back walls, and like I said, I am not a carpenter, so blowing out the back walls, I'd have to hire somebody to come.
What do they call those, temporaries?
Yeah.
It's time to get some temporaries already.
Did a little temporary at the back, and we looked around everywhere. We looked around all over Richmond, Rosenberg, Sugar Land, trying to find a spot to move into, and just out of the blue, this lady named Cindy Gifford, who owns Kids Resort down there in Richmond, she just gave us a call and said, "Hey, I don't know if you guys are ever looking to move out of that shack that you're in, but if you are, come and talk to me." And we were actually at that point just like beating our heads up against the wall because could not find a good place.
Wow.
And Kids Resort had a gym, had a cafeteria.
Oh, they had it all.
3 classrooms, large classrooms. And so the only thing I had to do was bring in some sort of, Wi-Fi, some sort of technology to help the kids out. And that was it,
And so did you take over the location? Was it a lease or was it?
It worked out perfectly because entrepreneurs are good at realizing, where there's a loss, whether it's, in dead space,
Sure.
where we started Learning RX. And Cindy realized that that's exactly what was happening at Kids Resort. Kids Resort, it was an after-school program.
Okay, so y'all were able to fulfill it and take over the real estate during the day. And she still ran her program in the afternoons.
That's right. And it's not even an after-school program that competes with us. It's an after-school program that
if anything, they complement each other.
Yeah, it takes care of the kids that coming out of elementary school.
That's
so
amazing.
it absolutely complements each other. We complement
That's
each other.
beautiful.
Yeah. So we were able to go in there and negotiate a great rate. And, within 2 years, we talked to her about building 3 more classrooms in an office.
Wow.
So we, blew out a wall and built 3 classrooms in an office and been there, I don't know, I want to say maybe 5 years now, 4 or 5 years.
So that's where y'all are at now.
That's where we're at now.
So y'all went there 5 years. And where is it located?
It is, so if you're on 762, you're leaving Greatwood.
Yep.
You're heading down 762 going to Brazos Town Center.
Yep.
It's over here on the right. It's right before you get to Williams Elementary.
I got you. So Richmond, that Richmond area?
It's like real close to the border of Richmond
and Sugar Land. Yeah, you're right there. It was kind of the, non-zone annex area
right
now.
That's right.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know exactly. I grew up in Greatwood, so I know exactly where you're at.
All right, excellent.
I've driven that road many times. So now we're here. How many students are you at now?
We're right at 60.
60
students in total. So what we've done is we have that program, KPA, which is now Prep Academy, the private school, but then we also have another one called KPAC. And what we found is that and KPA, that's a now Prep Academy collaborative. So what we found is that there's a group, usually they're small groups, but there's a group of student athletes, actors, singers, that usually train in one place, one facility. And their schedules are absolutely crazy at a very early age because, they're at school like anyone else during the day. Then they come to the gym or the theater or, whatever their craft is. And, they're there for 3 or 4 hours practicing, and then they still have to come home and eat dinner and do homework and there's no life.
No, it is. My daughter's in dance, and that's actually how I learned about Knile Center.
Oh, okay.
With
Jenny.
Yep. So Jenny's daughter's there, and that her daughter and my daughter danced together.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how we learned about it and how this all connected together. Well, and I get it. It's students that are in sports or after-school programs, whatever it is. It is crazy what these kids go through to keep that active, to be successful in those fields. So you help cater to those.
Well, we just worked directly with the owner of the gym, and we opened a school there in the gym. It's a different program. It's a little more condensed, but the school day is done by around noon, 12:30, and then they go right into training. So that way that, by 3, 4 o'clock, they're done. They can go home. They can hang out with their friends. They can have dinner with their family. They can go to a movie. They can do, whatever they need, and they get a good education. We layer the education with some of our after-school educational services like mindfulness or cognitive skill training or straight up tutoring. If they just need traditional tutoring and just need somebody to help them out, we'll do that as well. Sometimes it's just organization. Sometimes kids, they sit down and like, I don't even know where to start. I mean, we've all had that. I mean, it doesn't really matter what age you are, right?
Sure.
We've all had that. But sometimes the kids just need help to say, this is how you kind of organize yourself and, attack your stack of homework.
Gotcha. So the school is first grade to 12th.
First grade through 12th.
And you have two different programs right now. One is your typical school,
Right.
which, and I won't call it typical because it's not, but it caters to kids in those grades, typical classrooms, typical curriculum, but you're also going to combat both sides of that. If they're ahead of the curve or behind the curve, you're going to help get them to where they need to be in a non-stressful environment to help them accomplish their goals and get some gratification for graduating, getting what they need, the attention or what have you. How many students are there per teacher? 60 students.
Well, the ratios change per age group. So in a classroom, we'll have grades 1 through 3, and then another classroom. Some kids in third grade are ready to move over to older kids into a classroom with older kids. Some are not.
Sure.
So we'll have 1 through 3 in one classroom, and that's a small ratio, closer about 5 to 6 to 1. That's really
that's a great ratio.
As a cost basis. That's
sure.
The expense. Our big expense is that in order to really do what it is that we need to do, we have to keep the small ratios.
Yeah.
If you go to a larger ratio, then you're basically operating much like a public
typical school.
Yeah.
So you're 5 or 6
that's in the small
students to one educator?
Well, that's in the elementary, in the primary school, and then the intermediate school, the middle school, and the high school. Then we'll have the ratios are a little bigger.
Okay.
So we'll get, but really it's at the very most it's 12.
12 to 1.
12
I mean
to 1.
that's still my daughter's in public school in rooms that are 30 kids in one room.
I know.
12 to 1 is still a great ratio.
Right.
I mean that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what you pay for. It's worth it. And then so that's the typical side, and the K-PAC program that you were talking about, that's for students with extracurricular activities, whether that's dance, acting, school, sports, or what have you.
Right.
And they go to school and they get cut off at an early time so that they can get into sports.
That's right. Well, so we have right now K-PAC is operating inside a dance facility right in front of Greatwood called Dance Decor, which is a great dance program, and they had a nice little space that was available to us and a number of kids, the right number of kids, because you have to also kind of take a look at to see if this
it has to make financial sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you have to take a look at that. You have to be very careful with, not just taking a leap and hoping, but have some sort of a plan of where you need to be in order to have it make sense.
It has to at least make financial sense, break even as you grow.
Right. So they had enough kids for it to make sense and a great amount of space. And on day one, we opened up and we were pretty much maxed out at that space. So it's
that's amazing. That's a good problem.
It's a great problem. So it's just it's just kind of like a matter of where we talk to the owner. We're going to blow out a wall.
There you go.
Expand it a little bit more. Or
more portables.
more portables. As long as we keep on having those problems,
hey, that's
a great
good
problem to have.
Absolutely. So at 60 students running 12 to 1 ratios, are you seeing this business model as a good choice 11 years into it? Was it the right direction financially? I know it's not always about financials and profitability, but as entrepreneurs, business owners, we got to make money. We got to stay alive. We got to feed our families.
Right.
Are you happy with where it's at today, with where you're at financially for the business model?
Well, I tell you what, I'm very glad you asked that, because the key thing is with an entrepreneur is don't ever be married to your business model 100%.
Sure.
Be flexible and always analyze where you're at. While this business model was absolutely fantastic and working really well for us at probably around 40 kids, we realized that as it scales up beyond that, and that's the other part of it, is tuition is, we don't raise it every year, So as long as we're raising tuition to keep up with the amount of students and keep up with the amount of teachers that we need to maintain that ratio, we're fine. But if we don't, then it's a question of raising the ratios, which we don't want to do, because that kind of just cheapens what it is, our idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in order to maintain the ratio and do what it is that we've been doing to the kids with the kids for the past 11 years, we have to, it comes out one way or the other, right? It's either going to be higher tuition or it's going to be fewer teachers.
So that's one of the pain points that you got to work through.
Right, and that's the flexibility, understanding your business model, and understanding that sometimes it's just not going to work always in a static environment. Sometimes you have to move one thing or another to make it work.
Sure. I mean, that's part of what we have to do.
Right.
So in the last year or so, last 6 months, what has been a scary moment for you? What has been something that was an oh shit moment, a scary moment, where you really had to sit down with the wife and figure out what direction to go or what trigger to pull?
Oh,
I'm sure there's many of them.
I every day it seems like there's a new one. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes.
What was a scary moment, like a oh shit moment, but you got past it and everything worked out all right?
Yeah. I tell you that's the one thing that.
I mean, whether it was permitting or the health department not wanting to give you something.
Right.
What was it?
No, since we work with kids, that might have depression and might have some anxiety issues, we always have some little moments that,
sure,
kind of take us by surprise, and thank God we do. At this point, for the past 2 years, maybe 3 years, we have a lady named Victoria on staff who's a wonderful counselor, wonderful therapist, licensed, and that's what she does. And without her, I don't know, when these crisis issues pop up, I mean, I know I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So without her, I don't know how we get past it. And she has been a savior in terms of that. So
you got to have those on the team.
Yeah, these moments pop up, and she's there.
That's the moment, is the people.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Having the right team.
I've got a couple of those around here.
Yeah.
He's not paying attention. It's okay. Y'all all know we got HTC over here behind the ones and twos making it happen. So what's next for Knile Center?
Well, I think next is we're taking a look at creating a nonprofit, so that we can create this clinic that where we can house more therapists like Victoria, and we can house some more therapy. We've started conversations with parents, a little parent group. We're doing just right now kind of a focus group more than anything else. Talking to them, these are parents of kids with high functioning autism, even maybe mid-level autism, that are homeschooled, and they need some sort of socialization. So we're working with them to give them a place to do that, and we're getting really good feedback. And I think that's going to probably have to go through the nonprofit as well, because we'll need some scholarships for a lot of parents. I mean,
well, when you mentioned scholarships, I want to ask that. And I know you said tuition kind of changes or is per kid. Ballpark. If I'm going to take my kid out of junior high and throw her in your program as a regular school program, roughly what am I going to spend for the year?
It's going to be, tuition is right around. We're not the highest. We're not the lowest in tuition in the area. Middle school, it's going to be somewhere around the $1,100 mark per month.
That's not bad at all.
Right in there.
I mean, private schools are double that.
No, there's some private schools. If you go to Episcopal, you go into town. I mean,
there's some a lot more than that.
They're more than my house per year.
Nah, I get it.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that's very reasonable.
Yeah.
Now, for the parents that are, I have entertained all these different things with my kids and my wife, from homeschooling to partial homeschooling, and they go in. My sister-in-law homeschools her kids, private school, public school. We've looked at the gamut of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy the options that are out there. Some of them are, as you said, extremely expensive. Others aren't. Obviously, public school is free. When it comes to being able to afford tuition, some parents just don't have the options to put their kids where they need to be. If they have special requirements, public school isn't working, your hands are tied, your back's against the wall, what do you do? Right. So in your situation with Knile Center, is there a program or an opportunity for people to get financing for that? Can they get, go apply for credit to where it's funded? Are there any government programs that help them pay for that? What are the different financing options that are available to people to get their child into your center?
That's a good question, and that's one of the things that we're taking, like, because we've always been a for-profit business, and so for for-profit business, there's no grants, there's no financial programs out there. So, I mean, one of the things we have to take a hard look at is, now that conversation is starting to happen more and more and more, Do we need to move it from a for-profit to a nonprofit in order to be able to address that need, offer scholarships to the parents? Because right now what we have is we do every year we do a fundraiser called Havana Nights, and 80% of the funds, the proceeds from that go to Parkinson's research. My wife has early onset Parkinson's for about 3 years now.
Wow!
And so last year we were able to raise $20,000 for Houston Area Parkinson's Society. This year in February we're going to do the second one, and we're hoping that obviously we beat that number,
sure,
$30,000 or more. But then 20% of those proceeds go to scholarship funds that are managed through our parent group, not through Knile. We have kind of a PTO.
Okay.
And so they manage these funds, and they offer up little scholarships. They're not to pay. They don't pay for the whole tuition, but they do really, take a burden off for at least a couple months to help out with parents that need it.
Real cool.
Yeah. But once we move to a nonprofit, then I think that's going to be a game changer for scholarships.
So is that something that you're looking at converting over to?
Well, we're looking at doing a nonprofit right now, like I said, so that we could do the programs for the homeschool for the autistic kids.
And would that be
also
separate
for the clinic
from now?
It would be. Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, we have the nonprofit right now, but we haven't done a DBA for it, so I'm not really sure what we're going to call it just yet.
I know somebody can help you out with that.
Oh yeah.
So it's
I'm sure your Rolodex is huge, man.
Yeah, right. It's like my own. It's two separate entities. You've got the Knile that's for profit, and then y'all are working with some other programs that are going to be nonprofit.
Yeah, right. Well, and at the end of the day, it honestly might make sense just to convert it over to a nonprofit, get a board in place of people we trust that understand our vision, what we're trying to do, and help manage the growth.
If you do that, definitely want to get you back in here to talk about that transition. I've looked at a lot of different things, and I know a lot of other business owners look at doing 501c and nonprofits for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get into the details of those, but I would love to have you in here from being for a profit business and running that and then converting over, and to see what the difference is and learn about it after you've done it for a year or so and get that feedback and share that with our audience.
I would love to. I mean, if you want me to come back, I'll come back as often as possible. So
yeah, no, it's going to be amazing. Absolutely. So big things going on with Knile Center.
Yeah.
How can people reach you? What's the website? What's the phone number? How do we get to Knile Center for people that want to pull their kids out of this bullshit-ass public school and get them into your center?
NileCenter.com, www.nilecenter.com. We have contact pages, contact us forms all over the place. We also have a little blue button that they'll see on there where they can start a chat with existing parents and past parents.
Okay,
so,
great.
If they don't want to talk to us first because they're afraid it's a hard sell, which we are never a hard sell. But if they want to talk to some parents first to kind of get a good feel of it, they can certainly do that.
I think that's amazing. So you give them the opportunity to actually talk directly to parents.
Absolutely. I think it's important. I think it's really important because it's a big
agree.
move. They want to feel comfortable about it. So if they don't know somebody that's at Knile, if they don't know somebody that's at Knile, then it's important for them to talk to somebody and feel better about the decision before they give us a call.
Absolutely.
So they can reach us at info@nilecenter.com. They can call us at 281-761-6610. Or like I said, go to nilecenter.com.
Cool. And I'll pop all that up on the screen. We'll also leave it in the description. So
Great.
We'll leave links all over the place for people to get a hold of you.
Right.
Charlie, I appreciate you coming in today. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.